So today, it's a little less about the sound and more about the appointments of two guitars, because we are going to talk about the 2022 Classic that is modified with the Enchanted Forest Burst, and the Studio that is Amber Natural Satin. And these two guitars were made in the same factory on the same day. So if any two guitars are going to be able to be compared, these two are definitely points of reference for these models. Now, when they were new, they were about $1,000 apart from each other. And when they were sold in the demo shop as modified guitars, they were about $700-ish away from each other. I don't remember exactly how much each one was, but they were very similar in the price range of each guitar. Now, the reason we're not doing a sound demonstration is because neither one of these guitars has the stock pickups. The Classic has the Dirty Fingers Plus in the neck and Dirty Fingers in the bridge. The Studio has Burstbucker 1 in the neck, Burstbucker 2 in the bridge. So they don't really sound anything like their stock deals, and they don't have any of the switching electronics and all the cool stuff, but they do have all the basic weights and appointments that make these guitars different. So starting with the more base model, the Studio is every bit what you think it should be. It's a base model, usable, functional guitar that is a basic axe, and it doesn't do any kind of extra anything. They usually do have the silk screen up there that says Les Paul model on them. Over the years, the Studio has had several different iterations. In the 90s, some of them had the ebony fretboards, some of them had dot inlays, some of them, there have been several different versions of Studios, but this one has it's pretty good indicative. It does not have any binding, so all you can see is the exposed maple cap with that mahogany body. The neck is, of course, your standard fare. It doesn't have anything special done to it or any kind of special anything. They are just good, reliable guitars that make great if you're looking to modify, because as a modifying option, they have all kinds of great potential. Now, of course, they have they have all the same setups and everything that the other Studio, or this one has all the same setups and everything. It does not, like I say, have the push-pull pots because it's got the Burstbucker 1 and Burstbucker 2. Now, when you go over to the Classic, it does have all the same things you would expect on most of the Classics. It has the binding, which in this guitar you can kind of see it does have the thin binding. So it's got the fretboard is bound with the nibs. It has all the basic appointments that you would think are just a little bit higher up than what is on the Studio. And Classics are either really well respected and loved by some, or just thought of as an intermediate model to the standard. A lot of them don't get a lot of love because of it, but they are also a great guitar if you're looking to modify, because they don't really hold a whole lot of value. This particular one is in a color that is unique, so it has the ability to hold a little bit more value, but overall, it is a pretty basic guitar that just does good stuff. But the question is, how much do they weigh? You know, we've already heard what they sound like. This one's been on a few of the videos. This one has been next to it for the first time in this video, and they will be pitted against each other, I'm sure, multiple times over the next couple of years. But at the end of the day, it's time to throw them on the scale and find out just exactly what we're looking at when it comes to how much each one weighs. Starting off with the Studio, 7 pounds, 13.8 ounces, which is less than 8 pounds. For a Les Paul with Burstbucker pickups in it, that is going to give you a lot of relief compared to what you would think of as what we're going to see as the weight of the Classic. 9 pounds, 14.4 ounces. Now, that is over 2 pounds of difference worth of guitar. And it does have hotter pickups, but not substantially hotter pickups in it. And the sound that comes out of the Studio really does give it a pretty serious sound advantage, especially if you're going to be playing that guitar all night long. Now, these two are absolutely indicative of a normal weight. I believe the Studio might actually be just a little bit lighter than the 8 pounds that I'm used to seeing on a Studio, but neither one of them has something that's outside of the normal range. But again, the Studio, because of how cheap it is, really is a guitar that with a 2 pound weight difference can kind of punch above its own weight class. And the Studios have the same pickups in them from the factory usually that the customs do. So custom sound at, you know, almost tribute weight or even special weight, that's a pretty good case if you're a gigging musician for wanting to pick up a Studio and then modify it to whatever you want it to sound like. Because deep down inside, you gotta respect a guitar that'll be that much lighter. So again, this is not really a comparison of the tone because each of these guitars has changed pickups. They're not really aftermarket pickups. They're Gibson pickups because, well, I don't know. Is the Dirty Finger really a Gibson pickup? I mean, they've been sold in Gibson, so they are Gibson pickups in the fact that they've been in stock guitars for quite some time. But the bottom line is that this is just kind of a sound comparison running through the Fender 68 twin reverb, and it's just a little bit of, you know, what is the reverb difference and how long does it intonate after you strum a chord. So this one, I will tell you right now, I feel like it is very resonant for its weight. And as a Studio, I don't have a whole bunch of Studio experience. I've had a couple over the years, but this one seems like it just plays really well and rings for quite some time. So middle position, everything set to 10. When you play this one, it's not like the Studio T was. I don't know if the Studio T was something just done different, like it was a special something they did, or maybe it's something special that they're doing now, but this guitar, when it plays, got the Burstbucker 1, Burstbucker 2 sound. I mean, sounds like an older, almost has a kind of a reissue sound, but at the same time, it's a studio, which is indicative of the fact that if you want a reissue sound, put reissue pickups in a studio, and all the wiring that goes with it, like bumblebee capacitors and such as that, you can make a pretty good argument about having a much lighter guitar that gives you a lot of the same sound. Now we've got the Classic, and the Classic rings in a similar fashion, but weighs a lot more. I mean, this is almost a 10-pound guitar. So probably not weight relieved very heavily, if weight relieved at all, at 10 pounds. But this guitar has, of course, the Dirty Fingers Plus and Dirty Fingers pickups. So it has a hotter sound to it that is going to push the amp harder. And we've seen when we looked at that before that it's not a light sounding guitar. And it not changing. Wow, that's a lot louder than I thought it was. Not changing the actual setting on the amp or anything. This is just a straight side-by-side comparison. So, there you have it. Two guitars, same day, same factory, same everything, except the way they are built. Obviously, chambered on the studio, not chambered or very lightly chambered, if anything, on the Classic. They are very similar guitars. I mean, like I say, at almost 10 pounds, this thing, I kind of want to know exactly what the weight relief on this one is and what it would weigh if it is weight relieved, if it didn't have it, because that's a lot of weight for a guitar. And to carry this thing around all night long on a stage would be challenging, to say the least. But like I say, but they are two guitars made in the same factory on the same day, 28 stamps away from each other on the necks. So, you know, which one would you choose? Would you go save some money and buy the studio, or spend some money and get the Classic? Classic has, the modern Classic guitars all have the coil splits as well as phase reversal and bypass. So what do you want? Studios usually just have coil split. So food for thought. Till next time.